Autumn's coloured quietness. Much land is lost to concrete, stone and glass. Something remains, all is not yet gone. Paddock, field and estuary, hill and glade. Colours of autumn quieten desire before the dark. Descends the painted leaf, soundlessly alighting. Earth is warm, conserving summer heat, prolonging rest among its shadows, a bonfire at eerie twilight, burning down. Inhaling and exhaling, stricken fields have rendered up their harvest. Now must sleep before dull winter come with rain and wind and feebly circling sun. From life to death, I too must journey on. Actively dying, we live out our days. Passively living, greet the coming stars, the universal host, the glittering night unveiled above us. Fields of frosted flowers. Good morning. That was my poem, Autumn's Coloured Quietness. I thought I'd say a few words about the writing of the poem, but leave it until after I'd read it, rather than starting off, because there may be people on YouTube who don't want to listen to me waffling, but are quite willing to listen to me reading my poetry. So for those of you who just want to hear the poetry, you can switch off now. For any others, I'd just like to say a few words about how this poem came about. A friend on YouTube, Emilio, who is known on here as Von Spray, suggested that I read the poems of the Spanish poet Luis Cernuda. I don't know if I've pronounced that properly, but probably you'll know who he is. So I got the poems of Luis Cernuda, and I was reading a poem of his called Desire. I'll read it out to you, in translation of course. Desire. In the quiet September countryside, one leaf of the yellow poplar comes down like a shattered star, spinning to the ground. If only the unconscious soul, lord of leaves and stars, were thus, shadow set afire, from life to death. So I was looking at this poem, and I thought, I wonder if I could do anything with it in English, rather in the way of the manner in which I've done some of the poems, or many of the poems of Constantine Cavafy. So I was messing about with this poem, but I thought, well, I can't really do much with it. I'll write something of my own. So this was where Autumn's Coloured Quietness comes from. Cernuda says, one leaf of the yellow poplar comes down like a shattered star spinning to the ground. Well, obviously this is where I got descends the painted leaf soundlessly alighting in my own poem. I just want to show you that poetry, writing a poem, is not something which comes, the poem doesn't just come out of our heads. It comes from all sorts of influences. As another example, towards the end of the poem, I use the phrase, actively dying, we live out our days. I owe that phrase, actively dying, to another friend on YouTube, whose real name is Kestal, but who goes under the pseudonym of Super Duper Stuper. Kestal was writing to me recently and telling me that his dear mother was, who was now extremely old, had now entered a phase of what he described as actively dying. Well, this phrase stuck in my mind, so much so that I put it into this poem as actively dying, we live out our days. So I'd like to thank Kestal for that phrase, which is his phrase, and to extend to him my sympathy in the trouble he's going through at the moment. Thank you, Kestal, and I hope you will accept this poem and this video as my tribute to you and your mother.